Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. So every time we seem to ask for questions on Instagram, we tend to get a lot of questions focused around coming out to or just dealing with homophobic parents in general.
Yeah, literally, whether it just be coming out or like unaccepting parents, every time we put a question box on Instagram or even just DMs, they're just flooded with questions about this topic. So we thought, let's just do a full YouTube video and have a conversation about it.
And speaking of Instagram, make sure you go and check out our Instagram and TikTok, which are always down below. If you want to search them, it's just Beth and Holly with
an extra Y at the end of Holly. And if you're not already, make sure to subscribe and turn your notification bell on because we do upload every Tuesday and Sunday. Saturday.
Get into it. So before we get into kind of the main points, or at least the ones that we thought were worth a good mention, it's also key to remember that safety is always your number one priority in any of these situations.
Yeah, and also you don't have to come out. Like, you don't have to, like, it's on you and there's no time crunch. Like, just do what you want to do, but make sure you're not risking your safety because
it can be for some people very, very risky. And as someone who I personally wanted to come out because I didn't like the idea of people questioning behind my back or anything, so I thought, okay, I'll just clear it out there, and if anyone isn't accepting, I'd rather know now so that they can be gone out the picture. And I knew I was going to be safe in that situation. But if you're not sure, or if you think your safety could be compromised, definitely just get yourself to somewhere safer or just wait until
it's worth waiting. I know, like, it might feel like you finally like realize and you just want to like scream out to everyone, like you finally realize this and like you finally accept yourself and you just want to like tell the world, but it's worth waiting if you're not in a position where you're safe.
Yeah, you don't want to just you don't want any more complications. But yeah, that's definitely the first point, and just always remember that. So kind of going off that a little bit, it's knowing that their reaction isn't a reflection of you, it's purely a reflection of them. You don't need to look inwards and think, okay, what am I doing wrong? Should I be embarrassed? Should I have hidden it? No.
Literally, there's nothing wrong with you and you don't need to change. Like, you're doing just fine. Like,
yeah, they're not. Yeah. It's clearly an issue that you've got. If they can't open their minds, open their eyes and be accepting, that's something on their part that they need to work on. Don't let their bad reactions, or even if they try and, I know some parents can be quite manipulating and think, oh, but why would you do this to me? Like, yeah, kind of thing, that kind of energy. Don't pay into it, don't give them sympathy, and don't look at yourself.
Or even from that, like the whole like, oh, you're too young to know, like,
that's a lie.
You're not, like, if it was a boyfriend, like, it wouldn't be like, oh, you're too young to know you like boys. I'm presuming you were or vice versa.
That's just an example.
But like, no, you're not too young. Like,
no.
Also, it takes time. Like, you've had so long to sit and think and realize and accept yourself. So they might have this reaction at first, but they might not always think that way. Don't get me wrong, some people will, but a lot of parents, they'll come to terms with it and it's just kind of the shock factor. So don't let their initial reaction throw you off and question yourself, because most of the time they will change.
A lot of people do change. But also, just kind of going back a little bit, as someone who did first come out technically when I was 10, it's okay even if you do come out and then later on in life you realize that wasn't your sexuality or anything like that. Even if you backtrack and think, okay, I'm actually not, it doesn't matter. Don't let anyone think, okay, but what if this isn't forever? Okay, so then you'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, but that's how you feel right now. Chances are it will stay that way. So don't also be scared of, oh my god, what if in a few years time I think that isn't actually how I, sexually identify. It doesn't matter.
There's no pressure to fit into a certain box, and don't let what people say to you pressurize you into a certain box. Like, you just do you and like who you want to like, and just live.
But honestly, going off what Holly said a minute ago about some people, they do at first have a huge reaction, and that's, don't get me wrong, it's still the issue, that's still bad of them. But it can commonly come down to they've had this view of how their life's going to go, how your life's going to go, how they think you're going to be safe, and then suddenly that direction's almost changed and you're not safe and there's all these things.
They're never gonna get grandkids and XYZ. It's like,
yeah. And honestly, I know a lot of people, because I've obviously talked to a lot of people, their parents who typically have negative reactions are actually worried about homophobia. So they can think, no, this isn't the way, because they've seen a lot of like homophobic attacks or something. And they then worry about their kids and just purely put their worries on their kids.
It's more from like a worry,
way.
not hatred.
Yeah, but obviously it can come from both places. But honestly, some of the people who I came out to who I expected the worst reactions from because of, say, I know this is kind of a hard one to mention, but it did come down to religion. And I know people within religions, there are people who are very accepting, people who aren't accepting at all. But I thought because of their standpoint within their religion that they weren't going to accept what I was saying. However, they literally didn't care.
Yeah, some people will really surprise you. So just take that.
Yeah. Even if that gives you a little bit of hope, sometimes they can surprise you and it's great. Sometimes they don't. And you just have to take that. But yeah, sometimes they do.
Yeah, obviously we're trying to keep this video very positive, and sometimes like it's not, people don't always think that way forever, and it might not be as bad as it seems, but obviously we're not belittling any situation where it is, because there is times when some people are just never going to change and they're going to be like that, and you are going to have to cut them out of your life, and that's how it is.
I mean, don't feel as though just because someone is, that's 𝕬𝕝 the dragon again, just ignore her. But don't feel as though you can't cut people out your life just because they're family or close friends. You can completely still cut them out. But yeah, it can be really tough to do, and people can turn around and you can choose to bring them back into your life or not later down the line. But don't be scared to cut people out who are very toxic about the viewpoints.
You don't need that negativity. Just
no.
Get it gone. Something we touched on before, and something I kind of want to go back to a little bit, is some people may shock you, and don't get me wrong, not everyone will, but some people are just uneducated and you're someone they love, so their views on a certain situation might, like, it'll really differ. Like, for the situation of my dad, he's not the most woke, should we say. He's very one-way minded about certain things, and I was absolutely petrified. I did not come out for so long.
It's typically his
because
highway.
Yeah, even like my friends, like even Beth, like when we were best friends, I like wouldn't even tell them because I was so scared in case anything slipped and got back to my dad, because I was like, he's gonna hate me. There were certain situations where it just, no. Like one time he thought I was and was like, go live with your mum, and I was like, great. And it didn't come out to him then because that was like 3 years beforehand. But then later on, I didn't come out. I kind of brought Beth home, and he was just like,
people just kind of know.
Like, he's not bothered. Like, he loves Beth now, and it's like, it's not a big deal.
But at the time it was. And also, I don't typically get nervous, which is weird because, yeah, I've mentioned before that we are both quite anxious people. But nerve wise, I don't typically get nervous around people or like with people things. So I mean, I don't love social situations, but I'm okay if I need to like meet parents or meet family or something. I'm okay with it. But I was nervous for him because I could almost feel this wall from the start, and I was like, I don't know where this is gonna go. Obviously now I'm glad that that's gone, but you know, he shocked us both.
It's strange though, because like he still thinks that way. Don't get me wrong, like he still very much thinks very black and white about things, and we have very different opinions on pretty much everything, but he's accepting of us, so
yeah,
they might shock you.
They might.
And the people you think are gonna react the worst might react a lot better than you think they do, and it might not be the worst reaction, because I can tell you now, people who I thought were gonna be like fine with it and be like whatever, made some of the worst comments I'd ever heard. But my dad and people, even like my grandma, like I'd never had a conversation, she'd never said anything to think, for me to think that I would be like, oh my god, but it's just like the older generation, and I was terrified of that. Even though my grandma's cousin has been with women all her life, but it was just like, it was scary, and like they're two of the people who reacted like the least, like they didn't even react. It was just like, okay, cool, whatever.
I mean, I was lucky with family. My family, I mean, it might be because we do have a couple of LGBTQ plus family members of a variety. And so I have kind of grown up around, you know, like knowing a lot of like gay people or people who have transitioned or just stuff like that. It was just normal, you know, it wasn't like this big deal like it is to some people. But I was still nervous because I know sometimes even if your parents or grandparents or whoever is accepting of people in general, sometimes it also can be the opposite when it comes to you because you're closer to them and they thought differently or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was scared, but I had good reactions from everyone. I say it a little bit loosely because there were a couple of not the best reactions, but I wouldn't on the grand scheme of how other people have to deal with things. They were still quite good. But yeah, I'm thankful for that.
Something I was scared with family was the fact that it's gonna sound stupid, but I didn't look like the stereotypical lesbian because like when it comes to, I wasn't surrounded by many LGBT growing up.
Well, the ones I was surrounded by, they were very stereotypes.
Yeah, this is what my issue was, and I said my grandma's cousin before. She's very much like masculine, kind of like no hair, very short hair, like. Yeah. More wears like boys' clothes.
How if the stereotype of a masculine lesbian?
Yeah, I didn't know there was like lesbians who were like girly, like, you know what, like saying these terms very loosely.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't know that. I only ever knew like bisexuals, and that was like they were the more girly ones. So I was like, does that mean that I'm bi because I'm more girly? And like that, this is a whole different kind of way.
Yeah, and it's like even though you weren't questioning your feelings towards boys, it's like, oh, can you be?
Yeah, because I only ever knew like
you just like
femme bisexuals and like mask lesbians. I'd never known like the in between.
Also, the awkward part is I get what you mean because I was the same. Like literally, as I mentioned before, the family members I grew up around, they are quite a lot more stereotypical than, let's say, me. Which even then, I feel like I've been a little wishy-washy over time with him. How I see him, but I think a lot of people when they do meet me face to face and like talk to me face to face, a lot of people can tell purely by either mannerisms or the way I talk or whatever. Apparently, this is what people have said. And I just don't seem that, even if I have like a full face of makeup on, a big fancy dress on, I just don't seem the most girly. I don't know why, but whatever. People just say that. But the awkward thing is when you mention about bisexuals, the thing that I struggle with, because I mentioned this before, that I used to say, oh, I was bisexual because that's what I thought at the time. But a lot of the bisexuals that I know or that people I knew, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It was very much kind of like it was a trend at the time. And so I was then scared to even say that because I was like, if I say this, these girls are coming out all the time. They're like, oh yeah, like I'm bisexual. And I'd be like, okay, so would you ever get with a girl? I'd be like, no. Just because they thought it was trendy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, yeah, I know people do say about like using stepping stones or whatever, which some people do, even though I didn't think it was going to be a stepping stone. But it's just, it can be awkward and it's so confusing. But then trying to navigate your thoughts with the people around you and then bringing it back to family, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah, you don't need to feel like, this is the thing again, the whole like labels and fitting into a certain box or a certain category in a certain box, like, it doesn't matter. And just because, say, I know because a lot of family are very much like, especially like older people will be like, well, you don't like fit what they might like think that label is, and it's like, you just be you.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to start, or even if when you came out, whatever, that's completely different. If you feel this new sense of acceptance within yourself and you feel like, okay, this is how I truly want to start dressing out, that's completely different. But don't feel like you have to start dressing a certain way. Just I went through a little phase like, do I have to start whatever? And I was like, no, I'm just gonna do me.
But if you want us to do a full video on this, let us know, because honestly, we've been saying we have so much to say and like we think so much about that topic.
Like, it doesn't quite fit into this video, and it's something that we are quite passionate about. It's one of the main topics that even if we're just sat here, we'll just talk about between us. So definitely let us know if you'd want to see a video on that entirely. So that brings us to the end of today's video, and we hope you enjoyed watching, which we always love talking about topics like these, because if we can help anyone, which feels weird to think of that we could, but just on the off chance that we might, then we're super happy about it.
Yeah, we might went a little bit off topic, but we honestly enjoy filming this video. We like it when we just have like a topic and we just have like a conversation. Yeah. Which most time we do have conversational videos, we do go off topic, but you know what?
It's just what we do.
Yeah.
But if you do tend to enjoy the more conversational videos, make sure to leave a like down below and maybe let us know how your family have reacted, or even if you haven't came out yet, how you think they'll react. Do you want to come out? Are you scared to? Just let us know.
Yeah, we can start a little conversation in the comments. We can maybe help each other out and we can all have a big conversation. Yeah. Also, if you do want to find us anywhere else, as we said earlier, both our TikTok and Instagram are down below, but they're both just Beth and Holly with an extra Y.
At the end of Holly. And if you want to be notified for the next time we post, which will be
Saturday.
I was trying to work out what day this is getting posted, but if you do want to be notified for that, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button below.
So thanks for watching.
And we'll hopefully see you next time. Bye.
Call it spring, like everything is new. The sunburst flowers calling on warm days overdue. But I